Hi, I'm Mayor Jay Tibshraeny, and welcome to this edition of Chandler Inside Now. Today, it's my pleasure to have in studio the morning mayor, Dave Pratt. Dave, thanks for being here today.
Hey, it's the mayor and the mayor, right?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we're going to talk more about the morning mayor moniker in a bit, but I think most people are familiar with you because you've been involved so long in the local scene with the media and the radio and all that you're doing today. And we're going to touch on a little bit of all that over the next half hour.
Love it.
I think what we would like to talk about, how did you initially get your start in the radio business? Because I've known you since the 80s. But...
Right. You know what, Jay, I'm one of the lucky ones that's always known what I've wanted to do. Ever since I was a little kid, riding in my mom's wood-paneled station wagon with the back seat and listening to the little guy in the dashboard, I always wanted to be that guy.
Right.
And my goal had never changed. For some reason, I was just fascinated with the guy on the radio. And it's all that I ever wanted to do. So number one, that really helped. Mm-hmm. And then growing up in a really small town, I grew up in a little small town in Nevada called Elko, E-L-K-O. It's up on I-80. And it's truly a small town to where it's separated from any big metropolitan area by 250 miles. I mean, there's, Salt Lake to the east, Reno to the west, Boise to the north, and Vegas is 500 miles to the south. So when I talk a small town, I don't mean like Wickenburg that can get big city offerings. I mean a small town.
Pretty small.
Had one radio station and no ratings. When I turned 16 years old, you had to be 16 at the time with the FCC, I got my license, and my mom got me my first job on a local radio station. And with no pressure, no ratings, I was just able to learn and digest everything I possibly could, learn how to work the equipment and everything needed. And then I was even more hooked.
Did you live in that city?
I did. Yeah, my dad was a real estate developer.
Okay.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons, and I hope we get into more of the discussion about you and Chandler, because I'm just fascinated with Chandler, and you know that.
Yes.
But one of the reasons that I respect you so much for what you've done in both of your administrations and as a senator is the development of Chandler.
Thank you.
Because with my dad being a master plan community developer, I know the work and the vision that goes into that, and what Chandler's doing now is phenomenal.
Thank you.
So it's great to touch base again. It was great to see at the Chandler Awards. That was fun.
Yeah, that was good. And you did a really good job at the Chandler Awards. We appreciate it. That was their annual dinner that they had early in June, and we were both there, and you were the MC and did a spectacular job as usual.
I got to catch up with a lot of friends. I got to see you that night. You were sitting right in front of me, which is also known as the target. If you're right in front of me, here we go, Jay.
You were kind that night.
I was kind. Of course, you're the mayor. And then Tex Earnhardt and Danny Cush and Chief Doug. And it was just good to see everybody and get out. So.
Yeah, that was fun. So you started out at that little radio station in Nevada. Mm-hmm. How did you end up getting to KUPD? Because everybody will remember you from KUPD.
Right.
That kind of was the kickoff to your, I call it superstardom.
Right. Well, my dad, as I mentioned, being a master plan developer, was the partner of Bob McCulloch, who did Lake Havasu and Fountain Hills. So he was the president of McCulloch Properties. And my mom and dad were separated, and I never had the chance to live with my dad, and I always wanted to. And I'm also a Sun Devil fan, because when I would visit my dad, and I know you're an ASU guy.
Yes, I am.
When I would visit my dad, I would come down and attend the ASU game, so I was hooked.
Yeah.
So I wanted to come to ASU. After I graduated in that small town of Elko, Nevada, to me, there was only one choice: to come down and spend time with my dad for the first time in my life and to go to ASU. Yeah. So I did. Problem was, I didn't have the radio skills to get a job. My only job was in that small town of Elko. I was horrible. You think I'm bad now? I was horrible. Jay, I can't even, horrible. I knocked on every door in town and nobody'd give me a job. So I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. I ended up in stand-up comedy.
Really?
And it's when stand-up comedy was first hitting with the smaller clubs.
That's a tough gig.
Oh, boy. Being an opening act for a headliner in stand-up comedy is brutal, because nobody wants to see you. They didn't pay to see you. I was opening up for guys like Gabe Kaplan and David Brenner. 18, 19.
Wow. Doing stand-up.
Opening for big names. Gabe Kaplan, David Brenner, the unknown comic, and it was tough.
Interesting.
But once you can do that and survive, stand-up comedy and people heckling and throwing stuff at you, not wanting to see you, waiting for the headliner to come on, I think it toughens you and you can do anything.
Right. You're
So
not going to be shy after that.
when I got into radio, it seemed easy.
Yeah.
When I finally broke in, but then I just started to, absorb everything I possibly could around me, from the equipment to the guys that were around me who were kind enough to teach me the business. And then my dad on the business side really helped.
Yeah.
So,
It's good to have a businessman as a father.
yeah, I broke in with KUPD radio. And by the KUPD was not a high-rated station at the time. KDKB was just kicking its teeth in.
Right.
So, but when I started with KUPD, I don't know what happened.
What year was that you started KUPD?
1981.
Okay.
Yeah, so magic happens, and it's just, it might have been the timing, it might have been just the craziness and the carefree attitude, but Jay, it just exploded. And you were living here,
Right.
that. You may have been in college at the time or just getting out or
I was
whatever.
out, yeah.
Okay, but it just exploded. And within 6 months, I was basically a part-time guy, but I was winning all these crazy polls
Right.
in town and surveys. KPD said, let's give this kid a shot. I don't know what it is, but let's give this kid a shot and put him on mornings.
Right.
They put me on mornings. Within 6 months, we had the #1 show in the whole city.
It was rock, right?
Yeah, rock. And here I am, Jay. I'm, 20, 21 years old.
Yeah.
#1 show in the city. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't talented enough to be in that position. I'm just winging it every day. I'm going in I don't even know what's hitting me.
Yeah.
But for whatever it was, I'm grateful, and it's been a wonderful ride.
But you did that for like 20 years. How did you keep it? I mean, that's a long time at one stage. It doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
But how'd you do that? How did you keep it fresh and what have you? You just go in there and you're having fun. I know you're always got different guests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, not to get too sappy here, but I give a lot of credit to my wife and my family. I met my wife-to-be in 1987. Between the time I started in 1981 and 87, I was absolutely insane, nuts, doing anything I wanted on the air. Young,
Yeah.
successful, and living the life.
Yeah.
Jay, I'd be driving down the road, I'd see a car I want, hey, let's get that. And then I'd take it out on a promotion. I sunk it in a mud bog,
Yeah.
a brand new car, just to get attention, just doing crazy stuff. And I think that was part of the magic. But when I met my wife in 1987, for the first time in my life, there was something more important to me than my career and myself.
Yeah.
And that was her.
I hear you.
So then I started living for her and working for her. And that's the first time that responsibility really came into play. And then when I had my son, I have 4 kids, I'm blessed.
You have 3 boys and a girl.
I have 3 boys and a girl. I'm
Yeah.
just so lucky. When I had my son, it really changed my whole life, because then I was definitely living for his mom and him. And that's when business started to come into play, to where I didn't just want to be on the radio. I wanted to learn business. I wanted to learn advertising, how to serve clients. I wanted to be a servant in the community. I wanted to get more charity involved. And that's when I believe that hopefully I really started becoming a more of a whole person.
Yeah. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that. So you end up doing that at KUPD, and then at some point, and we were talking about it, and I want you to repeat that, you end up with this transition from KUPD to KMLE, because Howard, at first it was CBS, but you had Howard Stearns, who had a national show. You guys were kind of sharing some time and going back to back. How did that work?
You're good at this. When you're done running the city, you're like, the
Well,
media guy, you're good at this. So I was at KUPD for 20 years. And during that time, the government came through with what's called deregulation, to where corporations could own 6 to 7 entities in a major market.
Right.
And what that did is it took out local ownerships.
Right.
Part of the magic for me was working for a local ownership at KUPD. The guys grew up and they went to North High School, and they just truly had a love for Arizona. All of a sudden, before I knew it, the station sold, and I'm working for people out of Ohio and New York and CBS.
Yeah.
At that point in time, Jay, everything became equal to me. I went, there is no such thing as a local radio station, so I don't care if I work for a corporation in New York, LA, Chicago, or Dallas. What difference does it make?
Right.
So at that point in time, my loyalty to KUPD kind of went away, because I was loyal to the owners and to the listeners. So I thought, if I can still keep the listeners, as long as I'm in Arizona, I'm loyal to Arizona. I won't leave Arizona. I never will leave Arizona. then what difference does it make what station I'm on? So I took a job offer with CBS, and I started with Howard Stern. Howard did mornings.
CBS owned three
CBS
stations.
owned 3 stations in town, and they still do, I believe. Cool FM, which is an oldie station, Camel, which is a country station, and at the time, KZON was an alternative rock station.
Right.
I signed to do mornings for 5 years, guaranteed, set to go, make my transition to CBS, first move in my entire career, right?
Right.
I get over to CBS, everything's great. They're getting the billboards made, the television commercials made, getting everything set for the big launch, and Howard Stern becomes available in the Phoenix market.
Yeah.
Howard was employed by CBS. He couldn't be on Cool FM, he couldn't be on Camel. The only choice for him was KZON, and at the time he was doing 100 different markets in America.
Was that AM or FM?
FM.
That was FM.
So 1015. So CBS came to me and they said, Dave, we can move your show, but we can't move Howard. But here I am locked into a 5-year deal, and you're a business guy, Jay, you know. So I have pretty good leverage here.
You're
I'm locked
pretty
into
good
5 years.
shape.
So now it's not just signing myself to a deal, but it's opening a door to let their premier personality into Phoenix, which is a major market now. And the most important thing was taking care of my family. This
Was your deal? Did it also have the time frame you'd be on?
They couldn't move me.
Wow.
So here I am owning, Boardwalk on the Monopoly board.
Yeah.
And there I am thinking, okay, this is my chance to really do well for my family. So we made the most of that. I was on KZON for 1.5 years with Howard, highest rated station in the history of rock radio in Arizona for 1.5 years. But then CBS went, we can't pay both of these guys to be on one station. So Camel was really struggling at the time, and CBS said, Dave, this is kind of crazy, but would you consider going to Camel and trying a country show? I said, you're taking a 20-year rock guy with his image, America's rock personality of the year, and you're going to put a hat and boots on him, and we're going to do country? And they said, yeah, would you give it a try? And for me, Jay, it was just challenging enough. I've always been a disruptor to say, give me something to prove.
Yeah.
So I did.
What year was that?
This was 2003.
Yeah.
And within the year, we were nominated for Country Music Morning Show of the Year.
Unbelievable.
Went to Madison Square Garden in New York. Now, is that crazy?
Yeah, pretty crazy, because that's a big change going from the king of rock, basically,
to country, right?
To country.
It was just so much fun. I loved it, though. But country kind of became the new rock. I mean, if you go to a country show now, you're going to get the pyrotechnics that you had in 1978 with Kiss.
Yeah.
You go to a Kenny Chesney show or the Tim McGraw Faith Hill show or any of these big country shows, it's a rock show. That's what it is. All the rock guys now are in country. Kid Rock and Bon Jovi, and they're all doing country now.
Yeah.
So it started to switch.
I'm going to reintroduce the show, and I'll be right back at you. I'm Mayor Jay Tibshraeny. You're watching Chandler Inside and Out. Our guest today is Dave Pratt, media, radio, internet sensation, you name it, he's done it. Thanks for being here today.
This is fun. I love it.
So I've kind of been chasing this ghost, the morning mayor, for all these years. Where the heck, who gave you that moniker? Did you give it to yourself? Because you've been the morning mayor, and that is kind of your title.
Yeah, so you're going to love this. It comes from the world of politics. So my first year doing mornings on KUPD, it was for the mayor of Phoenix. Terry Goddard was running against, I want to say, Pete Dunne at the time. And it was a pretty brutal campaign going back and forth. And they were on KTAR and all these stations kind of arguing back and forth. And I was listening, thinking, you know what, there's got to be some common ground between these guys. So at the time, we're broadcasting on KUPD from a trailer in the middle of Guadalupe. And I thought, this is going to be funny. I invited both of them to be on the show. And I said, here's the deal, guys. No talking politics, nothing. We can talk your favorite movies. We can talk favorite sports teams, whatever you like. No politics. And you have to be on at the same time. They come down. They had the best time ever. This was like 2 days before the election. And towards the end of the interview, they both said to me on the air, they said, Dave, this is the most fun we've had during the whole campaign. And they were getting along. And they were finding commonality. They were talking about different things that they liked together in sports teams. And that truly was magic. At the end of the interview, I said, guys, do you realize that in a couple days, one of you will be the new mayor of Phoenix? And Terry Goddard looked at me and he said, Dave, one of us will be the new mayor of Phoenix, but you'll always be the morning mayor.
Terry Goddard did it.
So when
Wow.
Terry said that and then he won, I took that clip, Jay, and I played it over and over and over and over and over again. Most people now just say, hey, Mr. Mayor. They don't even call me Dave. It's just, hey, Mr. Wherever I go, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor. So I love it. You know, I was at Bosa Donuts down here coming to see you. There, it's a great diet for media guy, but I loved it, man. And they're like, Mr. Mayor, and I'm like, everybody. That's what they do.
And your staff used to have fun with you. I remember taping something or doing something where they could kind of yank your chain and have different mayors do things.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have a gavel in the studio. When things get out of control, I slam the gavel and we have fun.
Well, you got a second career when you're done with it.
Oh, no, I couldn't be a mayor like you with the vision that you've had. And what you've done here in both of your administrations as a senator is really incredible with the technology and the new business that you're bringing here. I think the Rogers Corporation is a great example.
We're excited about that one.
Somehow, with your magic wand, you moved this Rogers Corporation, which is just an incredible company from Connecticut.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of emotion in that. And you were so kind to share that story on stage at the Chandler Awards. But to move them from Connecticut to Arizona, which is not just a business play, it's an emotional play.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
They've been there for many, many,
many.
The town is named after the corporation. It's
Rogers,
Connecticut.
Yeah, I know.
And we got them to move their global headquarters to Chandler. So.
Oh, and then with the Waymo stuff and the Google stuff that you're bringing here, and it was great to see the crew from PayPal that night. Chandler is just this juggernaut now of technology. I love it. So you deserve a lot of credit for that.
We're trying to keep up with you in technology, which is going to bring me in.
We're trying, but no, I could never be a serious mayor. I couldn't do what you do.
So you left KMLE at some point, and then you've started. I want to talk about what you're doing now because it's really interesting. I was reading all about it today. It starts with the Star Worldwide Network.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that and how that came about.
Okay. So a lot of times, and here I am in the media, but I'm going to tell you the truth. The media gets things wrong. So in 2008, when the economy went down, I had a wonderful relationship with CBS, and they simply said, Dave, we just can't afford to pay you this kind of money anymore because CBS is a publicly held company. And they said the profits aren't going to go up. The only way we can keep our margins for our investors is to cut some of the costs. So there were a bunch of us, like 100 of us across the nation, that were cut at one time from CBS.
Wow.
Basically, if you had an extra zero on your check, you were done.
Yeah.
So I just, I wanted to make that a point that everything was great there, and CBS was really good to me. Unfairly, they took some criticism because they let me go. But it really wasn't their fault. It was the economy's.
Terrible economy.
There I was on, the front of the newspaper the next day, big picture, Dave Pratt fired. They didn't fire me. They were great to me. Great to me.
That's good to hear.
Anyway, I left with 2 years left on my ticket, guaranteed. They just shifted the columns from Phoenix to New York to pay me off. Sometimes, Jay, I feel like time is more valuable than money because now I had 2 years to think. And if you use time to its true advantages, it can be pretty dangerous. So in that 2-year period of time to where I had the check coming in, I didn't have to worry about supporting the family and I could think, it gave me time to look around and my head was on a swivel going, what's next? What's the next big thing? New media was just evolving big time. Satellite radio, internet was starting to explode. And as I mentioned earlier in our discussion, I've always been a little bit of a disruptor. And I turned to my wife and I said, let's take a chance. She said, what? I said, instead of just going back to radio and taking a job where you get a paycheck every 2 weeks and riding out our career, let's not take that apathetic attitude. Let's change the whole currency of media, not just for Arizona. Let's think big. Let's change the whole currency of our industry. She said, what do you want to do? And I said, let's start an entirely unique internet network and let's base it out of Arizona to where we can bring in shows from all over the world. Every show will wave the flag of Arizona. I'm sure you'll love that. So in Rogers, Connecticut, they can listen to our shows, which is wonderful. In California, in the Silicon Valley, they can listen to our shows. And every single show says from Arizona, it's Star Worldwide Networks. We took a chance on that. We started humble. We started with one studio and one show, mine, because we wanted to prove that we could monetize. If you can't monetize, you don't have a business.
True.
A lot of people in media, they want to have a hobby. It's all fun, but unless you can monetize, you don't have business.
Yep.
In the first year, we proved that we could monetize. And then we welcomed other shows, and we just kept building. When we could responsibly earn the right to grow, we added another studio, and then it just exploded. The curve kind of came our way, and internet revenue now is unbelievable. I can't even tell you how big it is. Yeah. Just for podcasting alone in the last year, it went from 110 million to 220 million.
Is that advertisers and what have you?
Just for podcasts.
Yeah.
And we also do live programming. So we started the network. We're in our 8th year now, and it's booming. It's one of the nation's biggest digital networks.
Because you were like at 150 channels, and now you got...
We have 156 shows.
That's amazing.
The internet's made the world so small. We have a craft beer show from Belgium. We have a travel show from London. We have a barbecue show from North Carolina. We have business shows from Irvine. And then we have about half of our shows from Arizona. I hope Arizona will always be the flag that we wave.
How does somebody access your network on the internet then?
Mm-hmm. So you can go to starworldwidenetworks.com, starworldwidenetworks.com. Thank you for asking. And you can also do that on any mobile platform. And you can get it anywhere in the world. Jay, you could drive across the nation and just hear our shows.
So you go to that, and then you can pick the show you want to hear.
It's like going to a food court. Today, I'm hungry for Panda Express. Tomorrow, I want Johnny Rockets. Tomorrow, I want Subway. You can come to our network and go, you know what, today I think I'll listen to Dave Pratt. Tomorrow, I'll listen to this travel show. How about a business show? How about a medical show? Anything you want.
And you do live on there, too. Your show's live.
We like to do them live. We think it's different because it offers some interactivity with listeners.
Right.
So a very small percentage of the audience for any show will be live anymore. Everything is on demand. Everything's on demand. Netflix is the biggest network in the whole world, right?
Yep.
But I think that live synergy is important because you can take calls, you can, involve your guests with calls, and then that becomes the show that goes on demand forever. So we archive all shows.
So the Dave Pratt live on the CW network, it then goes on demand.
Yeah, so Dave Pratt Live on the CW network is a little bit different. CW network is owned by Nexstar, which is one of the biggest television networks in the nation now.
Okay.
They simply just hired me to do a show.
Oh, you do a show for them?
Uh-huh. I just do a show for them. It's one of the things our network offers. So we can produce and distribute our own shows, but we're not afraid to produce shows for television, radio, and all different categories for all over the nation. We produce shows for Los Angeles and Detroit and Salt Lake just because the show hosts like the way that we cook the food. They like
so how
the way
does
that we
somebody go
produce.
about doing that with you guys? Like if somebody wants you to produce a show or they want to come on and have you help them produce their show,
Right.
How does that work?
So that's our revenue model. They would contact us and they would just say, hey, we want to do a show as long as it's a responsible show that's courteous to others. Like in the world of politics, we'll accept any type of show, but they have to be courteous.
Right.
We won't accept any nonsense because of our advertisers. We want to make it a nice platform for them. They contact us. It's a brokered model. They pay for their show to be produced and distributed, but then they can monetize their own show. They own their own show, 100% of it. Okay. So they can sell their own commercials, banners, everything else. All we do is we provide the platform.
Yeah. That's amazing how you've kind of transitioned into the new media. It's a whole different world out there, isn't it?
Jay, I'm learning every single day. And for me, I'm 56 years old. That's fun. I didn't want to get to the point to where I just showed up and did a morning show and took it for granted. And I was always grateful for what I had. But this is fun because I get to learn every single day. Yeah. I have young, smart people all around me that teach me every day. And I think in life, no matter how old we get or how much, we've been around in terms of industry experience, if you can open your mind to learn from anybody of any age, especially the youth, that's the future. Yeah, so I love it.
Yeah, you're right on the cutting edge right now.
I love it. I love it.
So I got a big, important question to ask you here. I read that your dog, Rio, is the CEO of your company. How's he doing with that job?
Rio is doing an unbelievable job. When we started the network, we had to get our corporation, papers done and everything. And I was joking. The attorney who was doing our corporation papers said, okay, who do you want to be the CEO? Who wants this position? You have to fill positions, right? I don't know this stuff, Jay. I'm just having a good time. So I'm joking with the attorney. I said, Rio, let's make Rio the CEO. He thought Rio was a kid, I think. and he put Rio in. And I went, oh, this is hilarious. This is great.
This is classic.
And I asked him, I said, you know, can we have some fun with this? And he said, it's awesome. So Rio is our CEO.
Good.
Yeah.
Just make sure you give him the right dog food.
Rio's never given us bad advice, I'll tell you that.
We got a couple minutes. You've done a lot for charity through the years, and everybody's thankful for Arizona charities. That's
Right.
awesome. You put in millions of dollars there. You had a bout with cancer. I know you're a cancer survivor,
Right.
but you're also a cancer fundraiser for cancer. Talk
Right.
a little bit over the next minute or two.
Yeah,
about
all
that.
types of cancer. If I can help in any way, I will. I released my autobiography. All of the proceeds went to the American Cancer Society. I'm a prostate cancer survivor. And women, I give women a lot of credit because they're so great at communicating.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see pink stuff everywhere and they're helping each other and breast checks and, you know, fighting breast cancer, and that's wonderful. Guys, we don't do that, Jay.
No.
Guys are a little bit more, you know, to themselves, and they don't want to talk about the process of getting checked or anything else. But when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, my wife and I made the decision to go public with it so that we could help others. We know that a lot of males, you know, grew up listening to rock and roll and hopefully grew up listening to my show. And if we could just give them the message of getting checked, we don't preach to them. We just say, get your physicals, guys.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility to yourself and those that love you. Just get your physicals. And if there's anything going wrong, there's a lot of options, especially with prostate cancer, which
Right.
is very slow in the process. So that's the only message we wanted to get out. We don't preach. We just say, get your physicals, be responsible to those that love you. That's it.
And thank you for that, because people need to understand that they can catch that cancer and they can treat it like you have and countless others. But your message is good, and it's no doubt saved lives. So want to thank you for that. Anything else you'd like to add before we call it a day here?
No, I want to congratulate you. Before we came on the air, we were just talking about Chandler, and you're such a humble guy. But what you've done here in both administrations and during your term as senator, and even going back to high school, you know, Chandler, Wolves, and just having a true pride in the community, seriously, and I know you're a humble guy, but what you've done here is absolutely incredible. Yeah. And I think, 2019 is the term, is that it?
Yeah, we got about a year and a half left here.
Somehow, just promise me you'll find a way to still be one of our community leaders or state leader, because I think everybody should appreciate that. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. I love serving the citizens of Chandler. It's kind of my roots, and appreciate your thoughts on that.
It's obvious. Go Chandler. I love it.
Well, I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
I'm Mayor Jay Tibshraeny. You've been watching Chandler Inside and Out with the Morning Mayor, Dave Pratt. Until I see you again, take care and be safe.